Happy New Year, everyone, and happy new decade. One of the most luxurious things that you can do for yourself is to live your life with consciousness, intention, and a plan for improvement. This video gets you started on that path in just 3 steps. So if you want to refocus your life and make 2020 one of the best years yet, then keep watching. Hi YouTube, I'm Autumn Beckman. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. On this channel we talk about luxury living on a budget, and luxury can mean so many different things. I have so much new content planned for this year. Just in January alone, we'll be talking about refocusing and improving your life, something called a low buy year. But I'll also continue with the content that you love and probably came here for in the first place, which is more focused on luxury handbags and accessories. So I do also have my entire Louis Vuitton and Chanel collections planned to show you. I have a few exciting unboxings. We'll be looking at those tiny organizers for tiny bags that I revealed in Vlogmas. I'll do comparisons of different items, talk about the items I sold in 2019 and why. I'll share with you my 2020 updated wish list. And this is prompted by Yota Style in the video that she put up yesterday, and I will link it below. I'll be doing a video about 50 random facts about me. So if any of that sounds interesting to you and you want to know more about luxury living, and maybe particularly on a budget, then be sure to subscribe and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss a thing. For many, the start of a new year is a time to set New Year's resolutions. But as we all know, New Year's resolutions are notorious for failing. People don't follow through with them. So in this video, I want to share tips about setting goals and how to start the new year with intention and with a plan to follow through that ultimately leads to success. Step 1, where I start, is with something called self-discrepancy theory from psychology. This consists of your actual self and your ideal self. Your actual self is your vision of who you are right now. Your ideal self is your vision of who you want to be. Self-discrepancy theory is all about the overlap between the actual and the ideal selves. And it states that the less they overlap, so the degree of difference between the actual and ideal self, that discrepancy can be a negative thing for you. It can manifest in low self-esteem and unhappiness and dissatisfaction in your life. So our goal for this year is to lessen that discrepancy and bring the actual and ideal selves closer in alignment with each other. Bring them more in focus. What I like to do is start by making a list of the characteristics of my ideal self. So these could be personality traits like I want to be less judgmental. I want to be more understanding and accepting of people who are different from me. It could also be things I want to do. So I might want to be saving for a new car. Once I have that list, then I make a list of my actual self and I figure out how much overlap there is. So you can do this in different ways. I'm a list maker, so I would tend to make 2 different lists, maybe draw lines between the ones that do connect or overlap. Traditionally, self-discrepancy theory in this way is represented by a Venn diagram where you have circles that overlap to certain degrees. So that might be a method that makes more sense to you. However you want to do it, it does usually help to actually write this down. And in the end, what you're left with is this chart should help you identify areas in your life that you want to improve. And it should also help you identify areas where you're already strong, where you're already doing well. Ultimately, this is a great first step in your journey toward becoming your ideal self. Step 2 is to review your previous year. You can do this in different ways. Do whatever works for you. You can brainstorm just from memory, significant things that happened. You could refer back to your calendars, your journals, other documentation from the year to help trigger your memory of things that happened. And you're not writing down just everything that happened. You want to focus on these areas where you want to improve your life this year. There are some questions that you might want to ask yourself. What was successful from last year? What was not? What took too much of your time and energy? What do you need to focus more time and energy on this year? What do you want to continue from last year? What might you want to cut out of your life or cut back on? What can you improve? What unfinished business do you have? And don't forget to focus on the positives too. Reflect on your goals, your accomplishments, and what you're grateful for. If you want to go even deeper into this step, you could do things like track data. You could do some kind of deep assessment of the last year, whatever that might mean for you. One of the things I like to do to go deeper and help trigger memories from the year and help trigger goals for the coming following year is I do a Google search for reflection questions, or maybe year-end reflection questions. And I don't just pick a list and answer all of them. I go through and pick the questions that are most meaningful to me, and I answer those in a journal. Maybe you just want to answer them in your head. It depends. Again, you do what works for you. And now that you've reflected on your previous year, you are ready for step 3, which is planning for the new year. You want to start by setting goals, not resolutions. Popular goals include finances, health, work goals, personal relationships. Of all the things that you've decided you want to improve, though, you have to be careful not to take on too much. Don't overburden yourself. Make it manageable. You want to set yourself up for success, not for failure. You want to help yourself overcome this challenge, not run into walls, not get frustrated, not want to give up. If your list is kind of long and you're not sure what to pick, like there's not something that's jumping out at you, it may help to rank your goals by priority. Maybe you pick one big one that you know is going to be a really big challenge, and maybe you pick 1 or 2 smaller ones, or maybe you just pick one, but keep it manageable. Also be careful if you're picking more than one goal not to pick goals that could contradict each other. For example, in the past, I've tried to work on finances, like saving money, and health, like eating healthily in the same year, and I have found that can really contradict, because sometimes the healthy foods that I want to buy, or the healthy ingredients to cook the healthy foods, costs more than it would if I was just buying ramen noodles or something very cheap. So the cost of eating healthy can butt heads with trying to save money. So in that case, I feel like I have to choose between them. And if you're really serious about trying to do both, it can be frustrating. So try to choose goals that don't contradict. Once you have your goals in place, the big step here is to make a plan. This is key. This is the part of the entire process where you want to go deep, because this is your plan for success. Having a plan in place that you follow, you check in with, and you reflect on throughout the year is a critical step. To create a plan, it can be helpful to start by learning about what other people have done to tackle the same goals that you're trying to tackle, because chances are you're not the first one to take these on. For me, I like to go to YouTube, but there are also blogs, there are books, there are people you could talk to in your life maybe. But one thing to keep in mind when you're doing this research is that you are very likely going to come across some people's plans that seem way too difficult for you, way too time consuming, they don't fit with your lifestyle. And when you come across those, just keep in mind, those are not the plans for you. Keep searching until you find something that will work for you. Don't let those discourage you and make you feel like you want to give up right from the beginning. Look for plans that you feel like will work for you. And you can also take pieces from several different plans and combine them to make your own. Also, when you're in this research step, I have a problem with wanting to learn as much as I can and get all the information before I get started creating my own plan. And that can be dangerous in this day and age where so much information is available to us, because you could spend the whole year just doing research. So if you feel like you have the same problem I have, you might want to set some boundaries for yourself, set some kind of timeline or a deadline where, okay, now research is done, or I do a little research every day for this amount of time. Figure out something that works for you, where you'll learn, but you won't get so distracted and it won't lead to you procrastinating starting your plan. One of the first things you want to do when you are writing your plan out is to write down your goals. Not just the big end goals, but it's very important to write down smaller goals along the way, sort of chunk the work that it takes to get to those goals. Think of things that you need to do in order to make this goal happen. Write those down. These might be the steps that it takes to get toward your goal, to fulfill your plan. And as you get deeper into developing this plan, you may come up with more steps. This part may get deeper, more flushed out, and that's great. It'll also be very helpful to actually schedule your journey. When do you have time to work on this plan? Put it in your calendar. Do you have a commute where you can get work done? Do you have a lunch break where you could get work done? Could you get up a little earlier to do some work toward your plan? And schedule when you want to reach certain goals. So not just at the end of 2020, I want this to have happened, but schedule schedule the steps along the way. Schedule smaller goals. Because let's say, for example, you're focused on losing weight. Let's say your goal is to lose 100 pounds. If you're only looking at it from the perspective of, I want to lose 100 pounds, that can be very overwhelming and discouraging. But if you chunk it into smaller parts, like this month I want to lose 10 pounds, or this week I want to lose 2 pounds, that seems much more manageable. So you can put those goals on your calendar. You can have steps throughout that week to reach that goal. It feels more achievable. It's not so discouraging. It's not so overwhelming. Other things that you want to include into your plan: motivation. It's human nature when we have these goals, especially if it's something bigger, that we sort of forget what we're doing along the way. We forget why we want to do this. Some temptation comes along and we lose focus. So writing down your motivation, or drawing your motivation, or making a collage of your motivation, whatever your method might be, but having that motivation somewhere where you can see it and refer to it on a regular basis, that can really help you keep the motivation in mind, keep your end goal in mind as to why you want to do this and what are the benefits to you. You also want to build in rewards for yourself for reaching different milestones, some of the small ones along the way, but you want to make sure that your rewards aren't counterproductive to your goal. So again, if you're trying to lose weight, you don't want your reward to be a cheesecake. And they don't have to be big rewards, like you're not necessarily buying yourself a Louis Vuitton bag every month. They could be really small rewards, like, again, with the weight example, you could draw out little boxes in your journal that for every 10 pounds you color in a box. It could be something that simple, but that can motivate you because you've got a visual representation. And it could be bigger rewards. That's all up to you. One of the very important things that you need to include in your plan is to anticipate for and plan for challenges. Thinking ahead about challenges that you will face along this journey will help you deal with them more successfully in the moment. For a lot of people, the goals that you've set are things that you've tried to work towards before and you feel like you have failed. So go back and reflect on that. Think about what moments where you hit a wall or felt discouraged, and why, and write these challenges down in your new plan. What stopped you before from reaching this goal? What can you do about it to prevent it from stopping you again? How can you think differently about the challenges this time? How can you refocus on motivation when you hit a challenge? And many of our goals require us to cut back on things, cut back financially, cut back with certain foods, cut back the time that we spend doing something. And that can leave you feeling deprived. So plan for that. Plan for maybe how to change your mindset so you don't feel deprived, or how to refocus again on motivation so that when you hit a wall of deprivation, you can see it differently and your motivation can help you get through it. Maybe have some questions in place to ask yourself when you hit deprivation or you hit temptation or some other challenge. Questions that will help you refocus and get through it successfully. But sometimes you're not successful when you hit a challenge. Sometimes you have a setback. So plan for that too. How will you react? How will you treat yourself when you've had a setback? How will you stop the discouragement that you feel, the disappointment that you might feel in yourself? How will you stop that from making you give up? And what can you do to motivate yourself to get back on track? Something else that's very helpful to schedule into your plan is time to review your progress and review what's coming, and also time to reflect on your successes and your struggles and use that information to help you plan for the rest of your journey. Depending on what your goal is, there are a lot of other things that you can include in your plan, but this is something to help you get started. I know it's a lot, especially if you're not a planner, so it may sound overwhelming to some of you, but remember, the ultimate goal here is to create a more luxurious life by creating a life where you are more your ideal self. You're more in line with who you want to be. And if you, like I think most people this time of year, want to start on this journey of making this year a better year, try starting with this process that I've just outlined. And in my next video, I'll be back to help you organize this, because I'm like a master organizer. And I can offer up some different strategies that will help you create a more successful plan for yourself, something that works for you, and something that you will actually want to keep going back to and working with. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, make sure that you are subscribed and you hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss anything. Again, Happy New Year. I hope you have a fantastic year. I hope I can help you have a fantastic year. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye.